Hello everybody, my name is Heather and I am ready to talk about the books that I read this year. So my goal from 2024 was to read a book every month, and I didn't succeed at that goal last year. Last year I read 9 books. So didn't succeed at it last year, but it got the ball rolling because I've started setting these goals every year. They're kind of low, reasonable goals because I just want to make sure that I'm always reading a book, because I love to read, but I realized that with everything going on in my life and work, school, everything, I really just wasn't spending as much time reading as I wanted to be. And reading makes you a better writer. It's just really important, and also just something I enjoy. So I didn't succeed at the goal last year, so I altered it a little bit for this year, and my goal for 2025 was just to read 12 books. It doesn't have to be one per month because some months are busier than others, and I didn't want to get discouraged or anything, kind of like I did last year. So my goal was just over the course of 2025 to read at least 12 books. And I did. I read 14 books this year, so I'm very excited. I exceeded the goal, and I loved all the books that I read. So here we go. First, this was a reread. I reread Born at Midnight, which is the first Shadow Falls novel. I was obsessed with Shadow Falls when I was younger. I first read this series when I was in 5th grade. So there's 5 books in the first series, and I read the whole 5-book series in 5 days. I read 1 book per day for 5 days. I sped through them because they're so good. And so recently at the start of this year, I was like, I don't know where I want to start on the books for this year. So I was like, you know what? I've been in the mood to do a comfort reread. I'm gonna reread this book. And I hadn't reread this book I've read it 20 times, but I hadn't done a reread in a few years, and so I was like, I don't really remember the details. So it was really interesting to go through and reread it. I would say my rating for this one is an 8 out of 10. It's not my, I've read better, now that I'm an adult. But it still holds a special place in my heart. I still really do love the characters and the storyline, but I feel like it's a little bit, the writing style isn't as much of what I prefer to read nowadays. It does feel a little bit more geared towards, a younger audience with the writing style. Plus, it's modern fantasy, and I love modern fantasy, but I do prefer to read a little bit more, that has a little bit more, world building, things that don't happen in, our world, because this series takes place in Texas. So I prefer usually to read nowadays things that happen in a world of the author's own creation type thing. So I do really love it, but I'll give it an 8 out of 10 because solid, still love it, still enjoyed reading it. And then kind of same for the next one, I reread the second book in the series, which is Awake at Dawn. I also gave it an 8 out of 10 because I still really did enjoy reading it, and I didn't feel like I was trudging along reluctantly. I still enjoyed the reread. But after reading the second one, I was like, I don't feel like I need to reread the rest of the series right now. So it didn't hook me as much as it did, when I was younger, but I still really enjoyed it, and it still holds a special place in my heart. So 8 out of 10 for this one as well. I'm gonna have to find somewhere else to put these. I was balancing them precariously on a candle. And then book number 3 for the year, Sunrise on the Reaping. I pre-ordered it and then I read it as soon as it came out. As soon as I got it in the mail. It's so good. Oh my god! I think it single-handedly cured my like book slump that I was in, because I was doing the Shadow Falls reread because I was like, I don't know what to read right now, you know? But this book single-handedly cured that, got me back into, I just hit myself. I got like a paper cut on my eye. What the heck? Anyway, single-handedly cured that. I got back into my love of reading. This book is so good. Oh my god, I'm so excited for the movie. I cried so much, and like it got me back into my Hunger Games obsession that I never left in the first place. So I, since reading this in, you know, when it came out, I have done 2 or 3 Hunger Games movie marathons again. I mean, I usually do them at least once or twice a year anyway, but but I've done them again, and I loved getting to see, obviously there are differences between the books and the movies, but I love getting to kind of see it through new eyes with knowing more backstory and things like that, especially Catching Fire, like with all of the other victors who are mentioned in this book. Sorry for spoilers. But yeah, I'm obsessed. And I got my brother to finally read all of the Hunger Games books, so he's read all 5 of them now, and we've been talking about it. We did another marathon together, but yeah, so I was so excited that he finally read all the books and I could yap about it, but I was yapping anyway, but now he has context. So I rated this one a 9.5 out of 10. I kept me hooked the whole time. I was so invested. Like I said, I cried so much. So this was so good. Oh my god. And then on to the 4th book for the year. The Serpent and the Wings of Night, the first Carissa Broadbent book that I ever read, which you will now see the trend because I read this book and then I read all of the other ones basically. So most of this year is just Carissa Broadbent books because I got obsessed. If you know anything about me, you know that I love vampires, and so these books. If you love vampires and you like, you know, fantasy world building, this book kind of gives a little bit of Hunger Games as well, because they have, I don't know how it's pronounced. I think it's like the Kajari maybe, but it's a competition. You know, one person wins and they get a wish from the goddess, whatever. And so it's got similar in that sense, of like, you know, one winner, one person, you know, and everyone else dies. So, but it's really, really good. I love this book. I rated it a 9.5 out of 10 as well. I like binge read it. I was like obsessed. And then of course I immediately bought all the other books in the series, in the world. But yeah, it was so good. Like, I was hooked. I was telling everyone about it. It's like, read this book. Because a lot of my coworkers and stuff, like, at the time were also on kind of like reading slumps. They were like, I don't know what to read, and we read similar types of books, so I was like, read this book. It's so good. I was telling everyone about it. Yeah, so I love this. And then we have the next book in the series, which is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. Comes directly after the first book. And so this series, Crowns of Nyaxia, I don't know how to say, but it consists of standalones and duologies. So this is the second book in the first duology, the Nightborn duet, yeah. And also really good. I gave it a 9 out of 10. I did think the first book was better, and I think just some of that is just I really, really loved the competition, the Kajari that was happening. It was so good. peak. So I still really, really loved this, but it was not, in my opinion, didn't have me as hooked as the first book, but close follow, 9 out of 10, so. And then I read the next book. Slaying the Vampire Conqueror is one of the standalones in the series. I loved this book. Another binge, or I won't say binge read. I mean, I read it over the course of like a week or so. But yeah, any chance that I had, any free time, I was reading. And so this was really, really good. I gave it a 9.5 out of 10 as well. So I thought this was so good. And like, it's kind of separate from the first duet, because it's happening on like a different continent, different place in the world. But then it kind of like leads in at the end. It kind of teases like it's gonna be involved a little bit. But this was so good. Like, I loved the main character. I loved just the whole thing. I loved him. And it was really like inspiring from a writing perspective. Like, I was getting some good book inspo from reading this. So yeah, 9.5 out of 10. And then I finished that book while I was on a cruise. And so the other book that I had brought was To All the Boys I've Loved Before. It's been sitting on my shelf since I was in like maybe 8th grade, somewhere around that age range. It's been sitting on my bookshelf and I've never read it. So I took it on this cruise and I was like, I need to read this book. I haven't read it. So I finally read it. It was really good. I didn't feel the need to keep going with the series. Like, I felt like I was happy with just the one. Because, number one, my favorite part of romance is the getting together. And I don't really need to read once they're already together. So I do like slow burn in that way because, you know, the whole book is just them, the lead up, the yearning, the desire, the wanting, but not being there yet. But once they get together, I'm like, okay. Like, I'm happy that they finally gotten together, but it kind of makes me nervous, you know, if you keep going too much after they've gotten together, like, oh no, are they gonna have, you know, fights and break up and, you know, so I don't feel like I needed to read the rest of the books. I was really happy with the first book just on its own. I'm sure the other books are great, but I don't think I'll probably read them, especially since it took me so long to finally read this one. I rated it a 9 out of 10. It was still really good. I very much related to Lara Jean in like kind of the way that she thinks about romance and the way that she thinks about, like, imagines, you know, her romantic fantasies, but also kind of separate from herself, and like her own insecurities and things like that. I really related to, and so I did really enjoy it. Yeah, it was a good. I also, because I was on the cruise, I binge read it, so I finished it before the cruise was over. And then the next one I read, I kind of didn't know where to go from here. I wasn't ready to start the next book in the Crowns of Nyoxia series. I was like, I need to take a break. Also, I didn't own them yet, and I was like, I should probably not buy something right now. And so I was kind of just like taking a break. I was like, I'll read something in between, but I couldn't figure out what to read. So I was like, you know what I've been really wanting to do? Reread Twilight. So I reread Twilight. I have reread the first book so many times. I don't think I've ever reread any of the other books. I mean, I've read them all, but I don't think I've done like really any rereads of them. But I've reread the first book many times because I do really love. I mean, this is what I was talking about with the other one. I love the getting together. So this was really good. Of course, just kind of a classic, good, special place in my heart from Twilight has a special place in my heart anyway, even though it's kind of, it gets made fun of a lot, and I think that's kind of valid, but like just from my childhood of like, being a little kid and watching the first movie Twilight with my mom, and just kind of that connection between the two of us through the movies and the books. And then I had some, a friend that I made through the books as well, and so just I have a lot of like connections to this series, just like emotionally, and so I really enjoyed rereading it. I think it's kind of funny sometimes, and you make fun of it, but I do think I can relate to Bella a little bit in terms of like I think it's so relatable how she's like, I hope nobody looks at me and stuff like that. Like that's so real. But so definitely like I feel like I was kind of like her when I was her age, like when I was, in high school. So I think that's kind of nice to be able to relate to. But I rated the reread an 8.5 out of 10. Just kind of a classic, solid book. And then we go back to Carissa Broadbent. I read Six Scorched Roses, which is another standalone in the series. I rated it an 8 out of 10. I wanted to like it more than I did. Like, I was excited for it, and it was good. Like, I enjoyed it, but it didn't live up to her other books, in my opinion. Like, I really, really loved her other books, and so this one just kind of fell short for me. And I don't know if it's just because it's so much shorter than the other books, and so there really wasn't as much build up to anything. But I enjoyed it, but I liked the other one so much more. That because I just really, really loved the other books, and so this one just wasn't as good for me. That's my personal opinion. I still liked all the characters and things like that, but I felt like it was more kind of for backstory of the main books and less like its own story, So I said 8 out of 10. And then I read I included this on my list because it was a full book that I read, but I read it because it was required. I read Customers for Life, which is nonfiction. It's kind of, I don't know, maybe a biography. It's like a business self-help book, kind of. I don't know what you'd classify it as, but my boss said that I had to read it. So I read it. It was good. I mean, it was good notes about, important things and keeping your customers happy and things like that. Yeah, good things to remember. It was not, considering that it wasn't a subject I'm particularly interested in, it wasn't a bad read. Like, I didn't feel like I hated it or anything. So I'm not gonna rate it because it was, not really like a fun book, It was just like a nonfiction required reading type thing for my job. So I'm not gonna rate it because I don't really know what I would rate it. I don't have the same scale for it because it's not like a fiction book like all the other things on this list. But yeah, I didn't hate it. It was, good things to keep in mind, I guess. I get why he likes it from a business perspective. So yeah. And then the next book that I read was Kira Kira, which is like a coming of age, from the perspective of this little Japanese American girl, and it's like her childhood, and I really liked it. It was very real and raw, and the writing style wasn't my favorite, but it was very fitting for, being from the perspective of this little girl. So it was kind of childish, but in a way that felt appropriate. So I rated it an 8 out of 10. It was solid. It was good. It's not something I would typically read because I do prefer more, fantasy type things like that. But I did really enjoy it. I was very moved by it. I sobbed my eyes out to this book. Oh my god. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't read it, but if you like coming of age, stories, and especially if you want something that focuses more on immigrants, people of color, things like that, I would recommend this book. It is very raw and real and sad. It's very sad, but it's very moving. And so I did really enjoy it. Yeah. And then I read Emergency Contact. This book was really good. I didn't expect to like this book as much as I did. This was kind of another one. To All the Boys I Loved Before, Kira Kira, and this one have been sitting on my shelf for years. And so I've been trying to kind of go through and read books that I already own instead of buying new ones, because I'm like, I have all these books that I've had for so long and I've never read them. So I need to either get rid of them, donate them, or read them, Like, I can't just have them sitting there taking up shelf space if I'm not ever going to touch them. So I've been trying to read books that I already own. So I read this one, and I really didn't expect to love it as much as I did, but it was so good. Like, I related to them on such a deep level. The main girl is a writer, and she, the way that she feels about her writing and kind of this complex that she has about it, where she wants it to be the best, but then struggles to take constructive criticism because she feels like, it's hard to take criticism for your art. It really is. But it's so important to becoming better at your craft. And so kind of that conflict within herself of wanting to be the best, but not being able to accept that has room for improvement, but then also kind of feeling like she's not really a writer, even though she's writing and struggling. It was so relatable, as a writer myself, having felt all of those things that she was feeling and thought all those things that she was thinking, it was so real. And their romance is just so cute and vulnerable, in a way that I really enjoyed. So I rated it a 9 out of 10. Considering that, this was kind of more romance meets coming of age. It was a romance, but it was also so focused on their own individual journeys. So I really did enjoy that as well. And then I don't have physical copies of the last two, but I read Heated Rivalry, which I had started. I'd watched the first couple episodes of the show when they first came out, because they came out on the same day, the first two, I think. And so I watched the first 2 episodes. I had never heard of this story ever, and I just kept seeing people on Instagram posting about the first couple episodes of Heated Rivalry came out. I'm so excited. This is, my plans for the day. And I was like, I've never heard of this, but everyone kept talking about it. And so I was like, I'm not watching anything right now. I'll give it a go. So I watched the first 2 episodes because, again, I had no context for this story. I don't even think I read the description of the show. I think I vaguely knew, okay, gay hockey players, but that's all I knew about it. So I watched the first 2 episodes and I was like, unprepared. I was unprepared, to say the least. I was shocked. But I was obsessed. very immediately obsessed. It was, the pacing was so different from anything I've watched or read before, but I really liked it. It took me because, again, I didn't have any idea what was going on when I first, like, I just clicked play. I was like, okay. And so I was very deeply confused for the first, like, 20 minutes of the first episode. I was like, what is going on? What is happening here? We're jumping all over the place. Where are we? When are we? I was so confused. And I was nervous. I was like, I want to watch this show because everyone's saying that it's really good. But I was nervous that I wouldn't be able to watch it because I don't know anything about hockey. But luckily for me, I didn't really need to know too much about hockey. So I watched the first 2 episodes, and then as I was waiting for the 3rd episode, I was like, you know what, I gotta read it. When I found out it was a book, I was like, I love to read. I love books. I love books. And I was obsessed. I am obsessed with the show and the story and everything. So I read Heated Rivalry in like 2 days. I was like zooming through it. Love it. Have already gone back and reread. Even though it's been like a week or 2, I've already reread it too. So I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. Peak. So good. Oh my god. I love it. And then I read The Long Game as well, and I gave it a 9 out of 10. I love their story. I've been watching this show. As of filming this video, it's what day is today? It's the 21st, I think. So the finale episode of season 1 has not come out yet. And I'm so ready. I keep seeing people talking about, like, because it's gonna be the cottage. It's gonna be the cottage. And I love that I know what happens, because I like knowing what happens. I'm the kind of person that wants spoilers. It's okay, it doesn't ruin the experience for me. But yeah, I'm so excited because I loved reading it. And so I'm so excited to get to see it. I was thinking in episode 5 when we were seeing Shane get hit and fall down and everything. I was thinking about in The Long Game when they're watching the documentary, and that footage is included in the documentary, and their interaction as they're watching it together, and Ilya's like, don't look at this, don't watch this, and you see it, and they're thinking, they're like, Shane's like, I don't know how everyone didn't know that we were in love. Because like Ilya won't leave his side, even, and he's talking to Ilya as he's like half days, almost passing out, and he's all injured, and he's kind of out of it. And he's like talking to Ilya, calling out for Ilya, and it's, when I was watching the episode, I was thinking, I was like, it's as if we're getting to see the documentary, like this part of the documentary. This is what, in The Long Game, which I guess will be season 2, this is what they will be seeing, And so I thought it was really interesting. I kept thinking that as I was watching it, and then of course it was beautifully done. Everything so far on the show has been beautifully done, beautifully translated from page to screen, and I do love the way that they have been true to the book in a way that I honestly have not seen from very many film adaptations of books. Like, they always kind of take a lot of creative liberties and take away from the book in some ways. But honestly, I feel like this one has been so true to the book in a way that I really, really love, because I loved the book. And of course the show has made some changes. I'm going on a tangent now. Of course the show has made some changes, but I think all of the changes that they have made are good changes and are kind of, in a way, expounding upon the book and not taking away, or they're not really changing the story or the characters. They're just showing more than the book did, you know? Like, it's like building upon the book instead of changing something about it, if that makes sense. And so I've enjoyed all the little things that are kind of different. Um, and so I'm obsessed, and I can't wait to watch the finale. But yeah, I've already reread the book, so best way to end my book goal for the year. So